Disclaimer. Any of the guidance offered by the podcast host, myself, or the podcast guests is our own guidance. We are not liable for any of the actions the podcast listener decides to do. Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. And today I welcome Alex Mehr to the show. And I'm excited to dive into our conversation around technology, around AI, and how it can really support us as humans as well. And much more I'm sure we're going to dive into today. So a quick introduction to Alex. So Alex is the co-founder and CEO of Famous and previously co-founded Zeus, which grew to over 40 million users before being acquired for $250 million. Former NASA scientist turned serial entrepreneur. Alex now helps creators and entrepreneurs harness AI to build authentic influence and scalable digital empires. Welcome to the show today, Alex. Glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me. It'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Alex, being with NASA, you're the serial entrepreneur now, helping people with technology. Sounds like you've got this big interest from my understanding of like technology and helping people. Have you always been like interested in technology from like a young age, or was there a certain thing that drew you to it?
Always. I love technology. Most importantly, I like to know how technology can help people. So I've been always curious about it. I try to remain on the cutting edge. Historically, also, like a thing to think about is a lot of great people, even conquerors over the course of history. The reason for them that they succeeded is that they harnessed technology. I can give you many examples historically, from gunpowder to cannon technology to electricity, like just you name it, to oil. So it's always been about what is the most powerful technology available to us as humans and what can be done with it. And you can use it for good or for bad. I try to use it for good and try to help as many people as I can with it. It's definitely an area I'm always interested in.
Now, it's really interesting that you touched on there's like many sort of like leaders and people historically have used it that maybe we don't think about.
100%. I wrote a book on it. It's about the Conqueror's Code is the name of the book. It's on Amazon. And you look at Alexander the Great, siege technology. You look at Genghis Khan, composite bow and arrow. You look at Julius Caesar, construction engineering. You look at, you just literally you name it, and I can give you many, many examples from historical times all the way to modern day business conquerors like Jeff Bezos, e-commerce. It's like, I could keep going. Elon Musk, electrical vehicles, battery technology. So, and new rocket technology. So it's like, it's just too much of a trend going on there to ignore.
Yeah, I definitely see Elon Musk utilizing technology all the time. But yeah, when you're talking about people like Alexander the Great as another example, many others, that's really, really powerful. So I'd love to know, what is Famous AI?
Yeah, Famous AI is a platform that allows you to turn your idea into a fully functioning website or app. It's essentially what I did at Zeus, early days of apps, before App Store was not even a lot. iPhone App Store didn't exist in 2000 until 2008. I started Zeus in 2007. So we were like ahead of the curve in apps too. And I knew apps were coming. Most people didn't know what apps were, but I saw the movement and I built a lot of apps back then with engineers. And this is even before cloud computing. So we had servers, actual physical servers connected to the internet, until we found the right app that grew, and that became Zeus, the online dating app. But it required a lot of engineering power and capital. I had to raise venture capital and all that to make it happen. Now with AI, we want to enable everybody to be able to do what I did back in the days with AI without a large engineering team or a lot of capital. And it is now doable. It is now doable. It wasn't doable in 2024, early 2025. AI technology almost got to a point where you could actually build meaningful apps. And now all bets are off. You can essentially, if you have an idea, you can build it. So that's what Famous AI does. You explain the idea it builds it for you.
I love that. And really, it kind of like what I'm hearing stops people's like barrier to kind of like entry. They want to create an app, they want to get a message out in the world. But that's really just, this is something to support them do that, to get their message.
Levels the playing field. Levels the playing field. I think of it as David versus Goliath. So this is the slingshot. It is allows the little guy to have a shot at cracking a big industry. So without a lot of capital. And that's a thing that I want to say even 2 years ago, I didn't think would happen, but it has happened. And it's very powerful. One of the reasons I'm getting on podcasts like yours is to spread the message that I know a lot of people have ideas and they definitely have talents or unique gifts in life, but they were hampered by execution skills or resources. We are at that point in history where people with ideas are rewarded more than people who have execution skills or resources, believe it or not. Meaning you've probably heard the saying that, ideas are worthless. It's all about execution. And that is to some extent still true, but it's less true than it was a few years ago. Meaning if you have a good idea, you may not have the resources or may not be necessarily that good in execution. AI will fill the gaps for you. That's what's happening. It's a big trend.
Yeah, that's a really powerful idea. I love that. So that people can get like their ideas to the world faster if they're not someone who's got the resources. So you're supporting them with that. That's powerful. So you came across, just go back to Zeus. That was something. When was it? Back in 2007.
2007. I started in 2007.
Yeah. What was the kind of? I'd love to hear a little bit about the idea behind starting that.
Yeah. So 2007, I was a researcher scientist working for NASA. I work on a lot of exciting space missions. My background is science. It's not actually science and technology. It wasn't business, so to speak. But I wanted to try entrepreneurship. And my thought process at the time was, I don't know exactly what I'm going to build, but I'm going to make sure I'm going to build in the right neighborhood. I'm going to try ideas that are in the right zip code, if you will. And in 2007, I saw that what is now known as the app movement. When I started, it wasn't even like the term app was not exactly like a term that people would use. A lot of times people thought by app, I meant appetizers, believe it or not, like normal people on the street. It was like MySpace had it and it was called widgets. So the first product we launched was actually a MySpace polling widget. But it's just regardless of what you call it, I saw a world where people are going to move away from dedicated websites like www and go into these special purpose apps that run on whatever operating system they're operating. And iPhone came out in 2007, but it didn't have an app store until 2008. So we even predated iPhone App Store. And it was like, okay, that is I have this vague vision of what's going to happen in the future, which we're going to have a lot of widgets, apps, whatever you want to call it. Turned out people called it apps. And a lot of different services are going to be appified. So I'm going to jump in before it gets, crowded. And I'm going to start building apps. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to build, but I'm going to build a few. And in the process, I'm going to learn how to build them and create that institutional memory, meaning a team that can build these quickly. And also learn what works, what doesn't, what takes off. And we built, like I said, a polling widget first. Every 2 weeks, we were launching an app, believe it or not. This is 2007. I launched a polling widget, sort of worked, but it wasn't that great. Then we launched quizzes. They took off, but there was no stickiness and we couldn't monetize. Then I launched a couple of games. And then as one of our projects, we launched a dating app. And that took off. It was essentially initially a Facebook app and a MySpace widget. This is again before iPhone. This is December 2007, I think, when we launched a dating app, and it just like exploded. And I'm like, okay, here's where I'm going to focus. And then we started building on that. And then the year after, iPhone App Store opened up, and a little bit later, Android Play Store opened up, and we were right there at the right time with the right product. Does that make sense? So we rode the wave. So what's the lesson in that? The lesson in that is you want to be in the right zip code it's okay if you don't know exactly which house, but you want to be in the right zip code. And you want to be a little bit early, but not too early. So when the technology takes off, you are right there with the right know-how, maybe not exactly with the right product, but close enough to pivot your way into the right product and then ride the wave. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that, I think, is a lesson that I carried with me throughout my entrepreneurial life, including this company. So I had a very similar approach. So we are Famous Labs. Famous.ai is our largest product and the one that we are the most well known for. But the company has existed for 2.5 years, and Famous.ai is like about a year old. Okay. So we launched a whole bunch of apps. And I mean, to this day, our company has 7 apps that have revenue. It's just like, again, the same stories. You kind of identify what's the next move, trend, if you will. And you say, okay, I'm going to position myself right. I don't know exactly how I'm going to productize it, but I'm going to go in it and I'm going to start building. And your first product doesn't have to be your best product or even be successful. It might completely flop. But in the process, you learn how to build, products in that space. And you also learn from customers. And you also find people that you want to serve. You're like, okay, so I have this group of customers. It could be 100, it could be 1,000, it could be 10,000, 100,000 that I'm serving with this product. What else can I build for them? And that process is everything. To me, at least in my method to entrepreneurship, that's how I do it. I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to be. This is the type of people I want to serve. I want to help them in this particular way. I don't know exactly through what mechanism I'm going to help them, but how about I start with this? And I start and iterate, 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 and never stop experimenting. So that's sort of my formula.
I like it because I know a lot of us can have this thought of like, is this going to work? This has to work, and these kind of things. But it always sounds like you're taking an approach that, okay, I'm going to try something. If it doesn't work, I'm going to learn.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's just, that is a learning that you cannot actually, I mean, I think you're right in the sense that a lot of people have that mindset. And I think it's actually not correct. And here's the reason. A lot of people want to be like Confucius or Buddha. They want to sit under a tree, meditate, and try to project and predict the future. The truth is, at least I'm not that smart to know what's going to happen. Think anybody is. So the answer, and the reason it's not like whether or not you're smart, it's like you don't have the data. So when you don't have data, you cannot, no matter how much brain power you have, it's impossible to know. Okay. It's kind of like trying to know an unknowable. So the right approach is think a little bit strategically. So position yourself, then take action. Action produces information. Take that information that you receive back from the market to take further action. And then that produces kind of like shaking a tree. Fruit will fall off. Whether the fruit is good or not, you don't know, but you will learn. And then you can put that into the next time you shake the tree. So that's essentially my approach. And it's actually simpler than what a lot of people think. It's actually a lot simpler than trying to predict the future, honestly.
I like that action produces information. I just noted down as you wrote that one, as you said that one. So that's powerful.
Yeah, it's end of the day is actually that action produces information. I believe I heard that phrase, Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase. I believe he said the exact same thing, and that's how it got into my brain. He said action produces information, and he was the same way with Coinbase. I think they started as something completely different, and they pivoted their way into Coinbase. And I heard him talk about it. I believe it came from one of his talks. It's like so true. It's like the information is not within you. It's not within you. So it's outside. You need to act to receive it. So yeah.
Like that. And how kind of want to go like a slightly different route because there's a lot of people like what I'm understanding from you is you've had this passion behind helping humans get out there using technology, really supporting people to build like digital empires, as I mentioned in your bio. And do all these great things. A lot of people I often hear like sort of feeding back, sort of saying, I don't know if I'll like it. I don't know what to do. I'm just a little bit stuck. What would be your kind of guidance on that?
Yeah. So high level, this is, I think, what people should be doing in this day and age. which is very different than even 2 years ago. First, I want to say everybody has a unique gift, something they're good at, a talent. Okay. Try to remain true to that, close to that as much as possible. Then think about what is a macro trend that is happening right now. Okay. So in this case, it's very clearly AI. Then you can ask yourself, I want to go, this is this huge macro trend because you want to be also on the right wave. You don't want to go against a trend or go on a flat trend or a downward trend. That's even worse. You want to go on a trend that is going up. And then you're like, okay, how do I go on that trend? And then find a group of people that I can help using my unique gift. Okay. And that gives you essentially the rough idea of your first product. Okay. And that's really all you need to get started. If you do not get started, the moment that rough idea is formed, it is your fault. So you need nothing else. So, give you an example. Let's say you are a chiropractor and your unique gift is helping people with their whatever chronic pain. I can see a lot of ways that can turn into an AI app, can't you? So I can think of it like it's just okay. So it's an app that you explain, it's a chatbot that you explain your uncomfortable spots, and then it gives you a bunch of exercises you can do yourself. All right. So why shouldn't you try that idea? Execution of that idea, given that you have you're a chiropractor, so you have the knowledge, execution of that app idea or the website idea is really simple now. Okay. You can explain it and AI will build like what's called minimum viable product in a few minutes. Average build time on famous AI is like 12. First build is like 12 to 20 minutes. Every iteration after that is 4 to 8 minutes. So you're talking about like from idea to your MVP, explaining it under half an hour. Okay. I'm not saying this is completely customer ready, but it's enough for you to see what this rough idea looks like. And then another day of iteration to make it customer ready. What is exactly preventing you from doing that? If you're a chiropractor and you have a day off. So nothing. You have no reason not to do it other than yourself. You might be afraid of the next steps. You're like, okay, let's say I built it. How do I market it? Then I give you two counterpoints. I'm like, okay, why are you thinking about the next step if you've not taken the first step first? Given that the first step is easy, it's like trying to see around the corner, try to imagine what's around the corner when it takes you to half an hour to get there to actually see with your own eyes. I'm like, why are you trying to plan the next step if you're just can just walk to the corner and look on the other side? So I'm like, first, just build it and look at it. Just looking at the MVP of your product, which is what I do all the time myself. I'm not telling people anything that I don't do myself. I'm like, looking at the MVP of your product is a huge step up in your mental clarity compared to having just the vague vision of the product in your own head. So right there, you upgraded your own brain. So first of all, I'm like, first counterpoint, why don't you try? Second counterpoint, it's getting an MVP into the hands of a few people is actually very easy. So if you have a practice, you can give it to for free to your customers to see what happens. If you have an email list, all of us have. If you go in your Gmail contacts, most adults have a few hundred to 1,000 people on their email list. You can send a blast. So getting your MVP, minimum viable product, in the hands of a few people to see what happens. Again, action produces information. So not having information, so it's like essentially like you're hampering yourself. You don't have information, therefore you don't act. And what actually produces the information is the action. So you're essentially your own biggest obstacle. So it's interesting. It's interesting. And I promise you one thing. It's like I understand it's a little counterintuitive. Most people don't want to move until they have full information. I can go throughout history. I can give you many, many examples of how people whose name we still remember to this day, they didn't move with when they had full information. They moved when they had just a sliver of information, just enough for them to act to get the next piece of information. Does that make sense? And that's the way it works. By the time you have full information, it's already too late. So to use Colin Powell's 40-70 rule, Colin Powell had this decision framework. He called it 40-70. And it was like, never move before you have 40% of the information, but never after you have 70%. So the right zone to make a move, act, is between 40 to 70% of information. So I'm like, okay, just think about it for a little bit. Get to 40% point, then act. Then you get more information, then act. And you get more information, then act. Does that make sense? So that's, I think, the cycle that for a lot of people is like, it's sort of a, I think of it as a mental hang up that a lot of people has to just shake off, essentially.
If you look at the names that came to my head when you're talking there were like Charles Darwin, Christopher Columbus, all these like great inventors and names we remember. It's like they've created these things that remember their names for years, or a lot of us
years later. Yes,
it's,
exactly. It's like, look, man, there's been, I saw this thing that about 100 billion people have lived so far on planet Earth, like Homo sapiens, 100 billion. So over history, off the top of your head, how many people can you name? Maximum 30, 40, 50, 100? Maybe you've heard 200 names. So that's what I'm talking about. And then you look at those people and you're like, they all moved under uncertainty. Oh, it's just like, do you want to make a difference? Do you want to? I mean, maybe a lot of people's goal is not to be remembered. It's fine, but it's just, it's kind of think of it as an argument, pushing something to extreme to understand what is actually a successful method. Is like the brave, the bold. It's not like being brave doesn't necessarily just mean running into a field when arrows are coming at you. It is part of it, but also being comfortable and wisely assessing. I don't like a scenario where they don't see everything, but they have enough of a vision and determination to make a move, even though not every little piece of it is clear. So it's like it has to. That's definitely part of being brave. So
enough to, but then to move
yeah.
forward ultimately. I love that. Yeah, Alex, I want to ask you a little bit about people got different views on like AI, and I love some of the capabilities. IBM use it, probably not to its full extent by any means, but I know a lot of people are worried about, oh, AI is going to replace jobs, going to replace me. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm super stoic about it. But let me explain what I mean by that. There are things in life you can control, and there are things in life you cannot control. So whether or not AI comes and does anything, positive or negative, is completely outside your hand. What can you control? The technology is here. It'll be here with or without you, regardless of what you do. What you can control is, okay, it is here. Can I use it in a way that helps me, helps my family, helps my customer? That's really the only question that matters to you as a person. All these macro concerns, okay, we can talk about it over a beer, like, it's like, but does it really impact your life? Can you do anything about it? So I am like super stoic about it. I am concerned about it myself in the sense that there are gonna be it's gonna create, I think, some structural issues in the society. But what can I do about it? The best thing I can do about it is like, I'm like, okay, the technology as a whole may create some changes in the structural changes in the society, may cause some pain. But I, as a technology entrepreneur, what is in my hand is I understand the technology and I know how to build consumer products and B2B products. Can I use the technology to alleviate the pain of some of those people? That's in my control. So I focus on what's on my control. Like, just some people might use it for weaponry and, create like these robot armies that kill a lot of people. I don't know, man. It's like, I'm like, I can see it. I'm concerned about it, but I'm in no position to actually do anything about it. What I can do is like, I'm like, but it also has a lot of positive benefits. How about I go and amplify the positive of it? So that's sort of like my approach to it. By no means I'm like, AI is like everything and like that. I'm not one of those people. And I'm also definitely not one of those people that says everything is going to be rosy. But end of the day, I can control what I can control. And that's pretty much all I care about.
So I think that's a really powerful mindset shift, because even outside of AI, a lot of the kind of things that come into the podcast and the topics the guests talk about is like what we're getting anxious about, what we worry about, and coming back to that control, what's in my control and what's not. I think it's a really powerful reminder for you, whether we're talking about AI or something else.
Anything else. It's like, it's in general in life. It's like, I think people just read too much news, pay too much attention to CNN or doom scroll social media and get into, rage bait social media posts and stuff like that. I'm like, does it really help you? Does it help your family? Does it help your kids? Does it really do anything for anybody, customer, anybody? It's like your concern is really adding anything to the world. And the answer 99% of the time is no. So, how about we just channel that energy to, it's like I'm like, okay, can you use that energy somewhere that you can actually make an impact? It's a simple switch. Make sense?
Love
Yeah.
that energetic switch of your
Yeah.
intention with it. So Alex, I know you're providing guidance to people on like how they can use technology to support them and bring out their mission, build digital products or services of their own. As we kind of like wrap up today, I'd love to know where the listener can find you if they want to reach out, get hold of you and your work, and if there's maybe a final point you wanted to share with us today.
Yeah. So best way to use one of our products, famous.ai. If you have an idea, you want to turn it into an app, you can start for free. It is on famous.ai. Just go in your browser to famous.ai. And to find me, Instagram is the best way. Follow me on at Dr. Alex. Doctor is spelled out, Dr. Alex. And that's where I am on Instagram. In terms of final parting thoughts, and that's the reason I came on your podcast, is I want to emphasize one point. I hate to go back to history, but history is the best place where you can learn. Throughout history, speed has been one of the most potent competitive edges for people who won. Okay. Just I can give you many, many examples. Speed. And one of the things that is happening with AI for entrepreneurs in particular, okay, is what was considered fast 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago is now slow. So you don't listen to anybody who tells you you're going fast. Okay. Whatever they think fast is, or whatever you think fast is now slow. It's counterintuitive. So the number one thing that I have for entrepreneurs is like, it's just I'm a living, breathing example of it. I wake up every day and I tell myself, I'm too slow. How can I go faster? Okay. And if I promise you that was very important, like throughout history, that was important, but it became a lot more important these days because other people using AI are moving faster. So whatever is your intuition of how fast things should be done is getting outdated. So the only way to stay on the cutting edge and win in this competitive world of business and entrepreneurship nowadays is to wake up and push yourself. It's a little bit like working out. So, you always want to see how much you can lift, how much you can, how far you can run, and measure yourself and compete with yourself. And that's the best way to improve. Do the same in business. Do it with speed. So, how fast can you run a mile? That's for your health. How fast can you launch a product or take a product to market? That's for your business. Challenge yourself, time yourself, and go as fast as you can.
I think that's an observation I've made from the most successful entrepreneurs. They're very, very quick, really quick.
Yes.
You look at just Alex Hormozy, Grant Cardone, they do things very, very quickly, or the Russell
Yes.
Brunsons. And yeah, even the kind of, I'm thinking even like the spiritual, like the Gary Burnseys of the world who are like very successful and well known. You may think they're like, but they're actually acting very quickly in a business
Yes.
sense. So I think that's an observation I've made. I love that final parting word that you shared. And yeah, Alex's link to Famous AI will be in the show notes below. So hit the link and you can share your gift of the world and use Alex's Famous AI to support you. So Alex, a massive thank you for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.